Hi, my name is Thete and welcome to Thete Gaming, and I'm back. Hello. So I've been away for a little while, but I'm back now on quite a casual basis that will include live stream, so check out the community tab for details of that one coming up at the weekend. I'll go over it right at the end of this video as well. But as effectively I've essentially given up on Battle for Azeroth, although I will be coming back to play it, it seems sensible to look towards the next expansion, Shadowlands, for me, with a little hope, tempered of course by the experience of past dashed hopes of the past few expansions. For me personally, that's on my personal view. Now, as far as can be told, we might expect the expansion to release, I would say, very late summer, early autumn. My money would be on September or October this time, as things aren't gearing up quite as soon as they had for Battle for Azeroth or indeed Legion before it, and they released in August. But with the there is a release of 2020, they say. So the alpha, therefore, you might expect to get underway towards the end of the first quarter of this year, the end of March maybe. And at this point, I'll be focusing on that, quite frankly. So looking ahead at the announcements so far, my personal picks for the most interesting features would be as follows. The first one, I suppose, the big one, is the level squish. Now, this is the thing that towards the end of Legion, Ian Hazakostas was telling us it was too problematic. Oh, you think all the things we did at the time were bad. Oh, level squish would completely destroy everything. The whole world would melt. And then he seemed to change his mind, tentatively at first, and then, and now it's actually happening. It's actually happening. Proof perhaps that even the Hazakostas oil tanker can be moved with enough force. Now, I'm not sure on the actual details, other than we're all going to be level 50 when it happens, and leveling will be to level 60 for the Shadowlands expansion. I'm wondering if that is a sneaky nod towards classic WoW, with the or vanilla WoW, classic WoW. What do distinguish between them? With the success of that, I sort of have a sneaking suspicion maybe it is, but it's a sensible squish to me. The numbers there's a number of reasons why I think the squish was needed, but just I think for new players, if you're trying to keep the game going, and it sounds very much like they're trying to keep the game going. This game's going to see its 20th anniversary. You want new players to come in. You're always going to lose older players. Always. You need to get fresh blood in, new players, and it just seems so daunting, with the nature of an MMO to have. And you know full well that the leveling, okay, it's a game within itself, but the game completely and radically changes when you get to level cap. It's all about getting to level cap. Whenever you see the features advertised in a new expansion, it's all about stuff for level cap. You've got to get there first. And it's just so daunting. Not only the sheer number of levels, but the sheer amount of time. So, yeah, the squish for me is massive, absolutely massive. Yes, there may be some things in the game that break a little when they apply it. Yes, of course. But it is going to be worth it. It is going to be worth it. Now, 2 is following on from that, indeed following on from what I've just been talking about with the leveling. Now, when I was still sort of playing properly, they were talking about the leveling revamp, and by God, it needs it. It was teased, as I say, a while ago. And it's going to include a faster leveling system as well, which is better. So it sounds like it will be more engaging and faster, and that's what it needed. I mean, I had slightly different ideas for exactly how to do it, but the 2 key things were it doesn't need to take as long as it takes. It takes way longer than it needs to take for what is effectively an advanced tutorial, and it was dull. It was dull. Particularly for veteran players who've been through it so many times. I'm not going to say it's dull for a new player. A new player would have to answer that. If you're going to stay as if you're going to get to level cap as a new player, obviously you can't think it's dull, otherwise you wouldn't have got that far. Now, I like the idea that there's going to be a tutorial zone with dungeon practice. So the first 10 levels got this special zone where it takes you through various aspects of the game, including a dungeon-y type thing at the end, which you can do to introduce you to some of the things there. Now, obviously the devil will be in the detail in terms of, because for me, I would want this tutorial to not just talk about aspects of the mechanics of the game to get used to, but also aspects of interacting with other players. Some of the etiquette of WoW would be helpful, but we will see, we'll see. But the notion of this leveling process being integrated with the tutorial is something I've long argued for. Albeit, as I say, it's in a more limited form than I would have wanted, but it is still a great improvement. It's very exciting what they're talking about so far. I am conscious of the fact that whenever they announce these things, it's always very aspirational. And as I say, the implementation is key. They're also expanding the level scaling, which is something I've appreciated in other MMOs. I know that there have been some who have been against this, which is why I never used to push it too hard when it came to World of Warcraft. As you know, I certainly couldn't push it as something the whole community wants, when it clearly wasn't the case. But perhaps Blizzard are of the view now that more people do want it than don't. After all, for new players, it's all going to be new and exciting, but it's the veteran players. I certainly want more flexibility to vary my leveling experience to take the sting out of it. And when we're being encouraged to level up more and more characters with the allied races, you want it to be more engaging. So the suggestion that we can essentially level up to 50 mostly on the back of a single expansion also sounds pretty good to me. So in Shadowlands, we'll be able to get to level 50 apparently just by jumping in and saying, right, I'll do the Battle for Azeroth leveling. Oh, I'm level 50. Great, I'm ready for Shadowlands. That's way better. Or, you know, if you wanted to go back and do Legion or something like that, then that sounds good if that's how it's going to work out. So the third feature I'm looking forward to is greater character customization features. So for whatever reason, Blizzard have always been reluctant to give us much agency over the look of our characters. And it's all too cookie cutter. And I've never understood why we've been so severely restricted on our in-game looks, and not for technical reasons. You know, there are obviously technical reasons, the way they built the game, that makes certain things difficult, if not impossible. I mean, I don't get that because, you know, I don't have the technical knowledge to appreciate what is and what is not a technical difficulty, but I appreciate that there will be technical difficulties and that some customization features in other MMOs that I enjoy will not be possible in WoW just because of the way they built it up. But there's quite a lot of them that are not technical. They don't even claim they're technical. They're philosophical. They're denying us this customization on purely philosophical ideas and philosophical reasons that don't even stand up to scrutiny. They contradict themselves all the time. So any tentative moves towards more freedom in that direction is welcome from my point of view, and I'm going to look forward to seeing how it works in practice. Now, the fourth feature is the background story, I have to say. Now, I have been pretty underwhelmed with the overall background story for the last few expansions. I positively groaned when we found out what Warlords of Draenor was going to be like. I mean, you know, time travel combined with alternate reality. No, just no. And I wasn't enthused by Legion. The storyline, you know, aspects of the expansion I liked, but the storyline, Battle for Azeroth really turned me off. The storyline just really badly turned me off. This one sounds exciting. We don't know enough yet. I don't know enough yet. Maybe you know more. But effectively, the world just blew up. Watch the cinematic. Sylvanas broke a hat, and the world, it just went mad. And I'm thinking, ooh. And this is better than Cataclysm was not exciting. That was just a dragon having a Barney. This sounds interesting. You know, this is the fabric between reality breaking down. And so Shadowlands' storyline is certainly, shall we say, has promise. It has promise, a lot of promise, in a way that even the reveals, the initial reveals on the past three expansions, the story just didn't seize me at all. Actually, I will just say this for Legion. The story did get better than I thought it would be. But still, I thought it was very underwhelming. And the fifth feature for me, fifth and final one, would be scalable dungeons. Now, obviously, there is a lot of understandable resistance towards soloification, if you like, of MMOs. Because, you know, being able to do aspects of the content in MMOs without interacting with other people, it's not really what MMOs are all about, is it? MMOs existed specifically to allow lots of other players to engage in the same world. That was the whole basis on which they were formed. And that's what they're supposed to be about. And it's really still surely what they're supposed to be about. Otherwise, you would just play it. You would just make it as a single player game. But I think it is what people want. And game studios have to go along with it. You know, it is a fact these days that a lot of MMOs are some of the best single player games as well. And yeah, that might be disheartening, but it is what people want. People want to play the game and they don't want to interact with other people. And yes, that's antisocial, but there it is. So given that view, the idea of being able to do dungeons with whatever group you have, let's say you're a couple of friends that you want to do these things, do it as a couple. If you're 3 or 4, if you're 5 and you go in it and some arsehole drops out, buggers off, and you're sat waiting for ages, no, go, carry on. That's a cracking feature. That is a good feature. And the hints of exploration incentives is also very appealing because it's procedurally generated. And I'm sure that will have come on as well from obviously first tentative steps really with Battle for Azeroth with the islands, which I've not enjoyed, but you know, the scope to be able to use some of that for dungeons. Oh, that all of a sudden, that sounds better. Again, just like with other features, the devil is in the detail. How it's implemented will be key for me. But that to me does sound very, very interesting, very exciting. Form your groups, going with whatever size groups you've got. Up until the normal dungeon size group, it's up to 5 players. But from 1 to 5 players. Scaling from 1 to 5 players. It sounds excellent to me. So, those are 5 features. There are other features announced as well. Varying levels of interest to me, but those are the 5 features that I will be very keen to keep my eye on. They're the ones that do have promise, and even given my experience of how Blizzard sometimes apply the reverse Midas touch, these are ones that I think that even with the Blizzard development team's general way of thinking could get this right. They could get these things right. I very much hope they do. I really do. So that's what I think of those particular features. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Hope you found the video enjoyable. If you did, don't forget to click the like button and subscribe to the channel. Until next time, I'll see you later. And finally, just before I forget, I will be live streaming Sunday afternoons. If you check out the community tab, I'll put a note in there as well.